Simply Fresh Food with Chef Renee. I'm Chef Renee, and thank you for joining me. Today, we're going to be making harissa chicken with tomato salad. We're also going to be making a saffron rice, and we're going to saute some asparagus. Wow, let's get started. All right, what I've done already is, and this will give you perfect rice. I'm going to start the starch first so that we can get that going, because the rice does need a full 20 minutes. So what I did is I coated the pan with olive oil, and then I put 1 cup of rice in it. And I just shook the pan so that everything actually gets coated. Then I added the saffron, I added the turmeric, and now I'm actually going to add some chopped white onions. And the reason that we add the chopped onions is really for flavor, you know, and let's just adjust this heat there. Let's see. Oh, that ought to be perfect. What we're going to do, I'm going to bring that to a boil, and then I'm going to put the lid on that and turn it down, and you'll have perfect rice in 20 minutes. I don't have to open that back up. So that's a good thing. We'll just wait until that starts to boil. Now, the next thing I want to do, because I like to start with our protein, just to be sure that it's properly and fully cooked. So I'm going to actually pull out some chicken. Now, remember, when you're working with proteins, you want to make sure that your area is clean. You want to make sure that afterwards you clean that area back up, because you don't want to contaminate or do any crossover contamination of anything, especially when you're working with chicken. Now, I actually hear my saffron rice going, and I smell it, so I am loving this. So I'm going to adjust that flame, turn it down a little bit. I'm going to add my lid, and I'm going to have perfect rice in 20 minutes. All right? Now, back to our protein, our chicken. I've taken a chicken breast. I've actually cut that chicken breast in half the long way. And then I've pounded it a little because I want it to cook thoroughly. I want it to cook quickly, and I want it to cook with a beautiful color. And what I'm going to do today is we're going to grill it, and I'm actually going to add grill marks to it so you can impress your friends, you know, when they come over. All right, so we have the chicken. I'm going to take it out, and let me wash my hands a little, because I'm going to reach into the spices. Now, what I have is I have quite a few spices here, because harissa chicken is really a Spanish dish. It actually contains adobo sauce. Adobo sauce actually has in it cumin. It has all of these yummy things. Here's a bit of it. I have garlic chili here. I have mustard. I have a smoky paprika here. And I actually have my cumin here that I talked about. We're going to actually use some salt. And what we're going to do is we're going to mix all that up so that it's a paste. And once it's a paste, then we're going to spread it all over the chicken, and then we're going to put it in the fridge. Now, it should sit for about 4 hours. You can do it overnight if you'd like. So since I have the paste here, because I made it already, but I wanted to show you the consistency of what it looks like. And I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to spread it all over the chicken. Now, it doesn't have too much salt in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to salt and I'm going to pepper the harissa chicken just to be good. We're getting the full flavor. We're not salting so it tastes salty. We're salting because we're enhancing what we already have. All right. Now that I have that on, I'm going to take a little fresh ground pepper, you know, one of my favorites. All right. And I'm going to sprinkle a little salt. All right. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to flip it over, because I want to make sure I get it on both sides. All right. So I'm going to do a little more pepper. Got to watch my fingers. All right, and there we go. I'm going to wash my hands again. All right, and then we're going to put that right into the grill pan. What I'm going to do, because remember we want sizzle, so I'm going to actually turn the grill pan on. We're going to get that started. All right, now remember I said it needs to sit for about 4 hours. So I'm going to actually move this out of the way because I actually have some that has been sitting for 4 hours. In fact, it's been sitting overnight. There we are. And here is the beautiful, beautiful color of Harissa chicken. We're going to keep it on the plate. There we go. Oh, look at that. Isn't that lovely? And it actually smells delicious, and it's not even cooked. All right. All right, so I've checked the rice, and the rice seems to be going just beautifully. Look at that. That is gorgeous. So we're going to keep that on low because we still need that full minutes to make sure each grain actually absorbs the rice and makes it nice and fluffy. All right, we've also got the grill on. I believe that that grill pan is ready. What we're going to do is we're going to spray a little cooking spray on it so we can be sure that it's not going to stick to the pan. Now, another thing that I'm going to do is, and this is what I call my liquid gold, this is actually clarified butter. And there's a whole story behind that clarified butter. I'm actually going to go ahead and work that in. Also aids in not sticking, but boy, the amount of flavor it adds, yes, your friends are going to love you. All right, so I believe our grill pan is ready. I'm going to lay the first piece on, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay it diagonally because I'm going to get a nice sear on there. I'm going to take another piece, and I'm going to lay that diagonally as well. Now, what we call that, when it's lying down on that side and I'm going to get a nice sear on it, that's going to be my show side. So that'll be your show side when people come over to visit you. You know, when you're putting the food on the platter to serve them, they're going to think, oh my gosh, you've been slaving all day. And you throw a little flour on you. All right, so we've got that going. Our rice is looking good. I'm going to put this away. And we're going to get out a fresh cutting board because now I'm going to be working with vegetables. And again, remember, we always want to make sure our area is nice and clean. So we've got ourselves another cutting board here. All right, and today we're going to have the saffron rice, we're going to have the harissa chicken, and we are also going to have asparagus. Yes, I love asparagus, okay? And so what we're going to do, we're going to wait just a moment while those things get a nice sear on them. Let me take a peek, and we'll see where we are with that. Oh, that's going beautifully, beautifully. So I'm going to leave that there. All right. And before I start with the asparagus, because what we're going to do is we're going to actually coat it with some oil. We're going to add some red pepper flakes to it, just for a little kick. And we're also going to have the tomato salad that is traditionally served with the harissa chicken. So what I need is some tomatoes. And I actually want to show you, these actually came out of my garden. I picked them out this morning. So I'm going to show you how we prep these. Now they're larger than the standard cherry tomatoes or grape tomatoes that we use, but that's okay. The more the merrier. So it's going to have a nice flavor. And I actually just quarter it. Cut it in half, cut that in half, and that in half. We can do it that way, or you can quarter it in another way. So just want to show you how we are prepared that. And I actually have a bowl here. We're going to add that to the bowl. And the salad is actually a fresh tomato salad. It has red onions in it, and it also has the tomatoes, and then it has fresh cilantro. So I'm going to show you how we cut up an onion. Here, I've actually cut off the tip of the onion. I'm going to leave this part intact because that's going to keep the onion together while I work on it. Now, if you can't find a little part after you've cut that off to pull, which you should be able to, but if you can't, just go ahead and take your knife and run it down the side, and you will have an opening that you've created, see? So let's check on that chicken, and then I'll come right back to this. All right. Oh, it's looking beautiful. Oh, you're going to love it. Now, I did that on the diagonal. Now I'm going to turn it horizontally. And the reason I'm turning it horizontally is because I want a cross mark for my marks. I want a nice sear showing that. Let's make sure our flame is up. That is perfect. It's going well. Let's check on the rice. Oh, that is beautiful and fluffy. Yum. So I'm going to make sure that's off. There we go. And let's get back to the onion. All right, so I'm going to peel this all off. All right, there we go. All right, so we've got that off. And I'm going to actually cut it right down the middle. All right. And I'm going to put this piece aside because we don't need that. And let's make sure we have all of it off. Very good. All right. And now I'm going to lie this down. What we like to do, or what I like to do, is I put my hand flat so that I'm not going to hurt myself because this is a sharp knife. I'm going to bring it across, not all the way to the end, just midway. And then I'm going to take it out. I'm going to take the tip of my knife and I'm going to come down on the onion. Because what I want is I want diced. I want small little chunks. All right. And there we go. I get these nice small chunks. So that's how you cut up an onion. And look, I'm not even crying, not tearing up at all. But I have something just in case you do tear up. And while I tell you about it, I'm going to turn our chicken over. I have heard, oh, that's gorgeous. I have heard that if you take a brown paper sack and tear off a little piece and you wet it and put it in the center of your forehead, that it'll prevent you from tearing up. I'm not sure why, but I tried it. It's a 80-20. 80% of the time it worked, 20% it didn't. You try it and let me know. All right. Now, we're going to put that away because here are my onions. There we go. And I'm going to bring out that same cutting board. Let's wipe it a little. All right. And what we're going to do, so we have our tomatoes, we have our onions, and the chicken is actually ready to be finished in the oven. Now, what I like to do before I put that chicken in the oven is tell me where I am right now. For chicken to be cooked to a proper temperature, it's actually 165 degrees. So I use this digital thermometer, and you check the thickest part of the chicken. And you can tell and gauge where you are, because you don't want to overcook your chicken. So this is actually perfect. I'm going to take that off the burner, and we're going to finish it off in the oven. Oh, doesn't that look beautiful? There we are. So we're going to finish it off in the oven. Perfect. There we are. And let's put our pan on for the asparagus. All right, but we're going to wait a little bit on that. Now, we're going to add our salad. Tomato salad has tomatoes, onions, and fresh cilantro. So let's get out some cilantro here. All right. And I love the smell of cilantro. I love the taste of it, and I love the smell of it. You know, I'm pretty much an herby kind of gal. I love fresh herbs. All right, so we're chopping up the cilantro. Let me get a little bit more. I decided, you know, I love it so much. I'm going to go ahead and make it into maybe a tomato cilantro salad. I absolutely love it. All right, so we've got some nice, oh, this just smells like herb heaven. All right, so I've got the cilantro cut up. Now, I'm gonna actually put out a bowl so we can mix everything together. There's that yummy, delicious cilantro. All right, and we're gonna add the tomatoes. Now, you know, what I did is I just grabbed a handful of cilantro. It's really up to you. You know, if you want to use a less amount of cilantro, that's fine. If you want to use more, that's fine. But you try to want to balance it out. So I probably have like a half a cup of sliced tomatoes or chopped tomatoes here. And I have like half a cup of I would use equal ratios for the tomatoes and the red onions. So I'm going to add that. Of course, then again, I absolutely love red onions. Now, another thing that I like to do is I like to soak my red onions in white wine. You can do that in white wine or you can do it in water. It actually sort of mellows out the pungency or the kick from the red onion, but yet it still leaves that flavor and it actually enhances it. So I've actually already done that with the onions and drained off. Of course, I use white wine. And so that's in here too. Now, we're going to take some olive oil. And you want to use a good olive oil for this. I would use extra virgin, or you can even go with a light one, you know. But either way, it's going to be yummy. Now, what I'm also going to do is I'm actually going to add a little vinegar. Not too much, because you don't really need it. Remember, you got the wine. So it's just going to be like, yeah, that is plenty. So if I had to guess, I'd say that's probably like a 1/4 teaspoon, no more than a half. And of course, the all-time fresh ground pepper. You know, you should try that once when you're out eating or when you're at home cooking for your family because you've just seen something on Simply Fresh Food that you were just dying to make. There we go. You use the fresh ground pepper, and I guarantee you, you'll tell a difference. All right. We're actually going to add, let's see, a little salt, not too much. Remember, we don't really have to have that. And we just want to make sure that our spoon is clean. And we're going to mix all that up. These colors are absolutely gorgeous. Oh, and if you could smell it, you'd be ready to sit down. Now, it's probably been about, let's say about maybe 10 or 12 minutes for your chicken. I have the oven on like a low temp, maybe like 300, and you're gonna leave it in there. You're gonna check it, and remember, what's the temperature again for the chicken to be properly cooked? 165. Now, what I've done is I've actually already checked on the chicken, and it was finished. It tested at the temperature that I desired it to be. And then when you take your meats out of the oven, no matter what the meat is, you want to let it rest for about 10 to 12 minutes. You can tint it with aluminum foil or some other type of lid. But what you want to do is you want to let it rest so that it finishes the cooking process, and then it sort of just mellows out and waits for you to consume it. I love that. Everything working together. All right, so I'll show you what I have, because I actually have one that I've already taken out of the oven, and I've already put it on a small plate so you can see. Oh, let's clear this off so you can get a nice view of it. There we are. And here is actually a little version of what we're going to be using. And I've actually used the cilantro to garnish it so that just in case anyone's wondering, is that basil, is that parsley, you'll see that it's cilantro. And I want you to know that actually smells delicious. So what I think I'm going to do is we're going to get started now with our asparagus. So again, I'm going to check the burner. There we are. It's at a nice temp. And you know I love to hear my sizzle. So I'm going to add a little more. Let's use here some oil. Gonna add it to the pan. Don't you just love the way that pours? I'm telling you. I love being in the kitchen. All right, so we're gonna make sure that we get that spread around. We're gonna let it get warm. That's a little bit of olive oil in there. What I'm gonna do here, and only so that the red peppers and the salt would adhere, I'm going to drizzle a little bit of what? My solid gold clarified butter. It's heaven. All right, so we're just gonna mix that up a little bit. And see how all of that gets coated? You know what? Let's just use my fingers. That's the best way there. Look, we're gonna make sure it all gets coated. And if it doesn't, we have the backup in the pan. But this butter was added, not just for coating, but for flavor. So there we go with that. I'm gonna clean up a little bit. All right. And now I already have some red pepper flakes. Now these are pretty, potent. They add a nice little kick to it. And I think it'll stay with the theme of the saffron rice and the harissa chicken. So there is a little there. I'm going to just sprinkle a little salt. And I think we're ready to go into the pan. Make sure that's spread all around. Just that flame a little bit. All right. There we are. It's always nice to have these in the kitchen. And they start right away, as you can tell. Gonna make sure our flame is okay. I adjusted it and turned it down just a little bit. Now what's going to happen, because I have the oil in the pan as well, is it's actually going to make it a vibrant green for us. But it's also cooking it, of course. And I like my asparagus long like this. I like to cut it and take bites of everything. I'll get a small bite of this, a small bite of chicken, a small bite of rice, and I am a lot happy. All right, so we'll let that go for just a moment. I'm gonna make sure that's turned down. All right, now, while we're waiting on the asparagus, I'm actually gonna move a few things and get us prepared for plating our food. Yum, my favorite part. Let's move our salt. And remember, I use kosher salt. It's not as strong and potent as the table salt or the iodized salt, but it does enhance the flavor of whatever you're putting it on. So we've got our plate ready. The asparagus is just going up beautifully. Oh, look at that. And I like the little flakes in there. Our chicken is ready. The asparagus is almost ready. We have the rice there. So I think we're looking pretty good. Just a moment. All right, so it looks like the asparagus is ready. You know, I like when the asparagus will stand still on its own, but also it has just that little movement to it. That means it's nice and ready. Now, if you think that your asparagus is cooking too fast, and it's still not as tender as you like it, what you can do is you can add a small amount of water to it, put the lid on, let it steam for no longer than about 1 minute. Take the lid off. Because you already have a little oil in the pan, the rest of that water will evaporate and you'll still have a nice, crisp, firm asparagus. So I think that we are ready for plating. I know I'm ready for eating. How about you? All right, so we've got our rice. Yum. We've got our asparagus, and we have got our harissa chicken ready. Let's plate. Yum. And I also want you to know that today I've actually paired this meal with a red Beaujolais wine. And the reason is because you have such bold flavors of the cilantro mixed together with the onion, which I actually coated with the white wine. Let it sit there inside of the saffron rice that has a delicious flavor. It has saffron, turmeric, it has the onions in it. So everything is going to be working together, and you need something to just add and make it burst in your mouth. So let's put some on the plate. I know I'm hungry. And look at that. That is just lovely to me. So fluffy and gorgeous. And remember, this started just as a white rice. So there we are. The turmeric and the saffron actually change that color. And then, of course, you know, it also adds the flavor. So we have our rice on here, and we're going to bring that together. I'm actually going to take some of the asparagus. And, you know, I'd like to take my time when I'm putting things on the plate. And you know why? Because when you see things, if it looks interesting to you, you want to find out more about it. It's more appealing. You know, you just feel like, you know, I did that. Another sense of accomplishment. So we're going to add our chicken here. Let's get our Harissa chicken there. We're going to actually scoop that on. And there we are. And what I've done there is I have the color. Isn't that beautiful? And remember, for the grill marks, what we did. We actually put the chicken on the grill pan diagonally, and then we actually turned it horizontally. And that's how you get these nice professional grill marks. Now we're going to add our tomato, cilantro, and onion salad, which I absolutely love, here. It'll also give the dish some height. And the chicken actually smells and tastes good, because remember, that was marinating for a minimum of 4 hours. And here I actually let it marinate overnight. Now, I do have a reduction. Now in here, remember, we have we have our olive oil, we have a little bit of vinegar. And the reason I didn't want to go overboard and make a full vinaigrette is because I actually have a reduction here, which is really just a balsamic reduction. It has a teeny bit of sugar to sort of kind of offset the potency of the balsamic vinegar, but when it cooks down, it actually tastes like a little sweet. So what I'm going to do is just drizzle just a bit, not much. And remember, I like color. There we go. There we go. Yep, and it's up to you. You can do this part or you can leave that part off. All right, and the last finishing touch for this before I dig in, and I want you to know I'm actually fighting myself not to just take a bite of this. There we are. So I just have a cilantro. I'm just going to lay that on top. And there we are. Today's dish, harissa chicken, saffron rice, and sauteed asparagus with a nice balsamic reduction for just a little added flavor. And we can't forget, I've actually paired this with a nice bold Beaujolais. But before I dig in, I want to thank the people over at Geisler Supermarket for providing all of today's fresh ingredients. Thank you for joining me at Simply Fresh Food with Chef Renee, and I'll see you next time.